today's live session. It's been a month since our last session. The last time we're looking at, I think, spiritual realities in the marketplace. So, how the marketplace has become a place where it is not just about your skill, your persuasion, your intelligence, your strategy. There are layers of spirituality and how we can position ourselves and be at the forefront. So today we are looking at how to disagree without losing relationships. And I would want you to go tell your friends, go tell your loved ones, and everybody that needs to hear about this conversation. We're just starting, and we're starting right away. Let me ensure that everyone is well connected. So if you are live, just respond and let me know if you can hear me very clearly. Let me see the comment sections if you can hear me clearly. We're speaking on how to disagree without damaging relationships. And this is a very important conversation for us, especially in our context as Africa. And, because of the way we are in Africa, we believe that arguments are things that we should generally avoid. Arguments are things that we should not even want to go into. And those are some of the things we'll be looking at today. Doesn't mean that every time you argue with people or you disagree with someone, it means that you don't like them or you have issues with them. Sometimes people feel like they will think you have issues with them if you disagree with them. And that is not true, right? So it is important to ensure that I just want to be sure that everyone is connected. So arguments are not altogether wrong, they are not altogether bad. And disagreeing with someone doesn't mean that you have issues with them. And we must learn the right way, the right approach to go about it. I can see some people online already. Let's ensure that we call the rest. Let's bring in everyone so that we are all here to learn about this vital conversation, how to disagree without necessarily damaging relationships. There's a right way to do it. Sometimes I go online and I see people express their disapproval, but in a very, very childish way. There is a mature professional way to express yourself. And people have said things that lead them into trouble. And sometimes people now start saying something like, it means that we don't have freedom of speech. Yes, we have freedom of speech, but how we express our freedom also must be in the right way so that you don't end up being wrong in the name of trying to express yourself. So we have a generation that believe that whenever an elder is talking, you don't say anything, you don't argue with them. What do you know? Then we move to the extreme of people that can talk to anyone. So the two extremes are wrong, whether it is someone that completely avoids argument or someone that believes that we just call a spade and give it to them. We don't care whether someone is an elder or someone or something. So both are wrong. And we'll be starting the conversation just straightforward. I'm trying to ensure that my sound is good. So let me know if everything is good. Someone can type in the comment section. Let me know if the sound is good so that I know if I need to improve on it. Thank you very much. We're still waiting for others. Let your friends know that the conversation has started. Let everyone know that the conversation has started. Let people join the conversation. We have started. And to let you know also, this conversation holds every month, right? So this conversation holds every month, every first Saturday of the month by 6 p.m. That's when we hold this conversation, and you should be a part of what we're discussing here because we discuss vital lessons that can help us in the marketplace, in our faith, in our walk with God, in our relationships, and in all the things that we do. So let's keep having more people join us. Let's keep having more people join us so that more people can learn from it. So it should not just be only you. Share it on your status, share it on your WhatsApp groups. Let people know that the conversation has started. Yes, thank you very much for those likes. Thank you very much. Let's ensure that everyone that needs to be here is here. And I would like you to also type in the comment section, what do you think about disagreements? Are you an avoidant or you're a confrontational person? Because those are two extremes that we have when it comes to disagreement. Some people tend to be avoidant, and some people tend to be confrontational. And let me know in the comment section, an are you an avoidant or you're a confrontational person when it comes to disagreements? Where do you fall to? Where do you fall to in the whole equation? Are you an avoidant? I'm waiting for you in the comment section. Let me see. Are you an avoidant or you are a confrontational person? Of course, the balance is somewhere in the middle. You're not avoiding and you're not confrontational. So that is the balance. The balance is not to be avoidant and not to be confrontational. So the balance is, like I said, is somewhere in the middle. And it is important for us to know how to go about it so that we don't find ourselves in places where you express your mind, but you still get yourself into trouble expressing your mind, because there's a right way to go about expressing your mind. Okay, so thank you very much. I can see people joining already, and we'll start the conversation straight off. Always if you have anything to say, you want to maybe contribute to this conversation, make sure you put it in the comment section. I can see the comment sections here, and I will pick them from it so that if there's anything, maybe a question you have, I can treat it. Now, in the African context, starting from where we are as Nigerians, as African, we have a cultural reality, and the reality is that elders are seen as know it all, and elders are the ones that have the final authority. So, and if you question what an elder say, it can be seen as disrespect. So let's say you are in a meeting and an elder says something. You now say, but I would want us to look at it from another angle. You get that eyes of, hey, these children of nowadays. So you are proving that you know more than our elders. So we have that power distance. So when young people speak, you often hear things like, what do you know? You are still young. I've heard people say things like, don't worry, you will soon understand, you are still young. And they are quick to maybe discard a comment or a suggestion from a younger person because they feel like it is not because they have processed it and to think about whether it is even right or wrong. They just conclude that if it is coming from you, then as a younger person, it can't be right. What do you know? And eventually what we have is that we now have a generation where people are silent avoiders, right? Because they grew up not talking. I've heard it a lot from people that they say the reason why I don't know how to contribute and to disagree with people is because I grew up in an environment where we're not allowed to talk. Anything we say, they will just shut us up and they'll tell you that, what do you know? So even when I am now older, I still feel like, what do I know? Everybody's talking. Me too, I want to talk. What do I know? Because you grew up in an environment where you are constantly told, what do you know? Right? So, and people begin to have their opinions suppressed, and they just avoid conversations that has to do with disagreement altogether. And they just, and even places where they're supposed to speak up, there are times when people ought to speak up for themselves in their workplace. There are times when people ought to speak up. Maybe they were being treated badly, but they don't even know how to speak up again because they've lost that voice. And that's one of the things that we're learning this evening, right? So we have two extremes. Some are silent avoiders. They just keep quiet. Then we have the other ones, they are the reactive disagreeers. They just disagree completely. They don't even want to know what you have to say. And today you see that on the social media, especially, you see people that they won't even bother to learn or understand your perspective. Once they disagree with you like this, they start reacting and start throwing tantrums. And those are not things that are good. They start reacting emotionally or sometimes even aggressively. So respect has been confused for silence. So when you are silent, they believe you are respectful. And when you speak, they believe that you are arrogant. And speaking does not necessarily mean that you're arrogant. It just depends on how you speak your mind. So you can speak your mind in a way that you are still you are still respectful. You are still respectful, even though you're expressing your disapproval. And let us look at the word argument. Now, argument is something that generally people would avoid, and they would want to look at it and say, me, I don't like to argue. You even hear things like, that guy is just argumentative, or is always argumentative. Yes, it is wrong when your position is always to prove that somebody is wrong, and then you are always trying to explain and prove that you are right. You're always trying to win. The goal of argument is not even to win. The goal of argument is to contribute your opinion and to state your perspective about a matter. The other person is free to either agree or not disagree, and you should still respect them even when they don't disagree with you. One of the things I used to tell people is that I don't agree with your opinion. This is my opinion. However, I respect your opinion. And that's something that we should learn. So argument is not bad. In fact, I remember in secondary school we're taught argumentative essay. So let's take, for example, to tell you that lawyers are better than doctors, teachers are better than farmers, and some of those funny arguments. And the point is not even about who wins the argument. The point it was later we started looking back that actually it's not about teacher winning doctors or farmers winning lawyers. It is about how do you present your points without getting aggressive and emotional. It's possible that your opponent says something that you are like, this is not true. I don't agree with this. And you wanted to interrupt them, but you are trained not to interrupt. You let them land. And when you want to now give your opinion, you are trained not to say, no, I disagree with you. You are wrong. How will you say that kind of thing? That is wrong. You are lying. No, you don't say you are lying. I don't agree with my opponent on the point that this and this and this. The reason is this and this and that. So you give your reasons. Like I used to tell some students that I once taught some years ago, I would tell them argue with facts. Maybe when I was teaching in a class and A said something and B does not agree, and then B would just stand up and say, I don't agree with you, you are lying. I'll tell them, no, that's the wrong way to put it. Argue with facts. I don't agree with you on this point. The reason is this and this and that. And what was I doing? I was training them how to disagree without necessarily going personal with the person that you are disagreeing with. So when people believe that argument is bad, then they would avoid politics. There's no way you will go into politics or you have a political conversation and you will not argue. There's no way you will argue. So once you go into, and it's not just politics of the way we know politics, right? Even if it is office politics or whatever level of politics, there will be some arguments. There will be two sides. You are on this side, you are on this side, and you have to bring your point. And someone may say that the governor or the Senate president is doing fine, the person is doing great, and they bring their reasons, and you don't agree with them. You can't say, they have bribed you. I don't know what they give you. Hey, see how you're talking. I don't agree with you on that point. The reason is A, B, and C. Fine. And if the person still bring up their point, you can go back and forth. At the end of the day, both of you may not still agree, but you've stated your points and you still respect your opinion. But when it becomes heated and name calling, raising of voices, then that's when it becomes bad. So in leadership discussions, you will have to disagree. If you find yourself in management positions, leadership positions, you must learn how to disagree. Sometimes your subordinates will bring a strategy to you, or they bring a suggestion to you on what we can do to improve sales or growth or something, and you don't agree with them and you state your reasons. Or you may go for a leadership meeting and you bring up your proposal and your proposal was not accepted, and you need to argue for your proposal and argue against their own without necessarily getting emotional or aggressive. And you don't see it as they hate me, they hate me. Some people like this, once anybody disagrees with them, they see you as an enemy, they see you as you hate them. They just no, it's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be. I've seen people that tell me that they're not going to speak again in the meeting because they didn't listen to them. To them, you not listening to them means that you hate them. Of course, except when it becomes recurrent, and especially when it is clear that this is beyond person. This is beyond my point, my strategy. This is me. The reason why they are disagreeing with my strategy is not because my strategy is wrong, it's because me as a person, they don't like me. There are some times when that can be obvious. But generally, it's not a conclusion you make very cheaply because they disagree with you, especially if they stay professional and they don't attack your person, they focus on the arguments. So, strategy conversations, if we maybe some people have not been in strategy meetings. If you go for strategy meetings and what you are in strategy meeting, you are coming up with policy documents, you are coming up with plans, you're coming up with execution strategy, you're coming up with how exactly are we going to do this. There is something I just remember now. It is called the six thinking arts. Six thinking arts by, is he Upstead? I think that's the name of the man that came up with the concept of the six thinking arts. And then we have like six arts by colors: red, black, yellow, green, blue, black. And different arts mean different things. And my favorite art is the black arts. And I used to say things like, this meter I'm going to wear the black art. And the black art is for caution. Is that's the guy that when everybody sees a fantastic strategy and say, wow, this strategy is going to 10x our growth, is going to increase our sales, is going to increase our revenue, is going to increase our consumer retention. The person is saying why it cannot work. And the person is saying, let's pay attention to this, let's pay attention to that. And generally, I wear the black arts if everybody in the conversation is all positive about an idea. I will start looking for what is it that nobody is paying attention to, but we need to pay attention to. But if you look at the positive side, I just try to mirror the energy. If everybody is overcautious, then I'll bring the positive energy and let us see why this is good. If everybody is overly happy and we are not paying attention to some basic things that may go wrong, then I'll wear the black arts. So it is something that should be normal with you. It's something that you should expect, that you can go for a strategy meeting and someone can say something and you can say, based on what Mr. This and that say, I think we should look at it from another angle. You're not a yes man, and you are also not the the person that is always argumentative and always trying to win. You just have to find a professional and mature balance in the midst of the two of them, right? So there are two types of arguments. There are destructive arguments. And how do you know a destructive argument? They are ego driven. It is all about winning. It's not about, even if your point is better. No, I can't agree because I must win. That is a destructive argument. They are ego driven. They involve personal attack. Sometimes people go from the issue and they go to the person. And I must tell you that I have been guilty of that a couple of times. But each time I reflect on a conversation, I'll try to see places when maybe times when I went personal and how to improve on it. That is very, very important, so that you don't, that's a destructive argument when you are attacking the person rather than focusing on the issue. And like I said, there's always a desire to win, and the person always feel challenged. Whenever you are feeling challenged, you're feeling like, say, you're talking to me, stuff like that. That's a destructive argument. On the other way, on the other hand, rather, there's a constructive argument, and that's the one that we want to learn about today. So, constructive argument is an argument that is idea driven. We are focusing on the issue, on the idea, not the person, and it clarifies thinking. For example, if you disagree with me on a matter, rather than attacking your person, I may say something like, "Thank you for stating those facts. However, I want us to look at it from this angle." And I try to clarify the point. That is that is a constructive argument. And of course, it always leads to better decisions. Sometimes we don't even end up concluding and agreeing, but at least the two of us are more informed about the situation. And many times also, we find a compromise, we find a balance, and we're able to conclude and say, "Oh, I think I agree with you. Oh, I think I agree with you on this thing." And that's the kind of arguments that most of us should look forward to having, right? So, it is even said in the Bible that iron sharpens iron. As friends, sometimes you engage in conversations, you engage in arguments. The times I do with my children, I just, even though they are still very young, I just disagree with them on stuff, and I disagree with them on obvious things, and I want to see whether they will push back or they will just accept or agree with me because I'm an elderly person. So maybe they will say, "Ah, you're daddy now, so you are always correct." Or they will say, "Ah, but it's not like that." And if they start arguing, and usually they'll start throwing tantrums and start raising their voices, I'll say, "No, you don't have to shout. Explain yourself, but don't shout." So I'm trying to strengthen the ability to argue. I go be around me and you know go argue. You must learn to argue. I don't believe in no arguments. I believe in constructive arguments because at the end of the day, we both learn from each other. It's good for educational purposes. It's good for management and leadership. It's good for workplace relationship. It's good for even in your marriage, your husband and the wife. There are times when you don't agree, and it's not out of place. When you see a couple that says that we don't disagree, we always agree. Okay, that's fine. No problem. Come and teach us what you're doing. But it's not altogether wrong to argue. It just depends on how you go about it. So, right. So when we avoid disagreement, when we avoid just expressing our disapproval and people are going unchallenged, maybe a leader is going unchallenged. Then so what happens is that bad decisions go uncorrected. I've seen places where someone is making a bad decision and everybody is avoiding calling their attention to it because they feel like if you disagree with this person, they won't take it lightly. They won't take it lightly, right? So, and eventually, maybe the person self-destruct or make an obvious mistake, and later on, the other person will now raise it and say, "Hey, I actually knew, but you didn't say it." Ah, me, I can't say it though because I don't know how you're going to take it. That's what happens when we avoid disagreements. Bad decisions go uncorrected. Number two, authority go unchecked. So authority goes unchecked. Leaders, especially in the African context again, where we believe that our leaders are, some people even tell you that the traditional king is the semi-god or the assistant god. In other words, whatever they say is the final. While we should respect the culture of the land, but we should also know that disagreeing doesn't mean that you are disrespecting. In fact, yesterday I was checking, so I was reading something online about the difference between asking question and questioning someone. That we say that God is unquestionable, but doesn't mean that we can't ask God questions. No, we can ask God questions. So there's a difference between asking question for clarity and for understanding, or to even understand what's going on. So sometimes it's possible some things are happening around your life and you don't understand what is going on. You can ask God question. There's a story in the Bible when the disciples asked Jesus, "Who sinned, the mother or the child?" That's question. But questioning someone means that you're challenging the authority. It's like Peter says, "How will you say that kind of thing? You're not going to die." Stuff like that. So there's a difference between asking question and questioning people. So sometimes when you ask question, the other person interprets it as you are questioning the authority. I'm not questioning your authority, sir. I'm only trying to ask question. Have we looked at it from this angle? What if this goes wrong? Do we have a strategy on how to handle it? And then they can take it up and say, you are questioning my authority. No, I'm not. And if you see it like that, I'm sorry. And then, of course, you read the room and understand the system where you're working in so that you don't constantly get yourself into trouble. Of course, if that place is very toxic and you can't talk, and every time you raise your concern, you're always seen as challenging authority, that could be a toxic environment. And you may need to plan how to survive that place, or better still, find a way to leave. Right. So that is it. The third part of this conversation will be looking at how to disagree upward. You know, it is easier to disagree downward or to disagree with your peers, which we'll look at also. But we'll be starting with the first one, which is a tougher one, how to disagree upward. I once took a training on managing up. So you can manage your peers, you can manage resources, you can manage people younger than you. By younger, I mean not necessarily in age, in experience, in organizational position, but how do you manage up? For example, you're a PA, you need to learn how to manage your boss without necessarily looking like you are managing your boss, right? So, how do you disagree upward? That is very, very important. It's very important to know how to disagree upward. Let me see if there is anything so far. I'm just checking my screen to ensure that I'm not missing anything. So if you have anything to say, let's let's bring up our conversation. Let's bring up our conversation. I would like to see you drop what you're learning so far. What have you learned so far? And have you found yourself in any of such scenario before? Bring it up, bring it up, bring it up, bring it up, bring it up. Let me hear from you. Let me hear from you. Let me hear from you. Let me see if everything is still good. Okay, let me see. If you can hear me, just type in the comment section. Let me know that you are following the conversation. Okay, so let's go on. Let's go on. Like I said, we're looking at how to disagree upward. So how do you disagree upward? Generally, when you want to disagree upward, it takes wisdom. It takes wisdom, right? You don't just say, "Sir, I don't agree with you." I don't agree with you. Of course, the person will also go defensive. Who are you that you are talking to me like that? I think the first thing is to really start with understanding. Understand their position, right? If I understand you very well, that's a good way to start. Another way you can start is, I think I see where you're coming from. You mean this and this, and the person said yes. Then you can also go with a question. Instead of saying, if that is what you mean, then that's wrong. Oh, that is too sharp. That's too sharp. Instead of, because you are disagreeing upward with your boss, with your superior, with your manager, with someone ahead of you, right? Let's say in the context of home, your parents, right? That's upward. So you can, instead of saying that's wrong, you can say something like, can we look at it from another angle? That's a much better way to put it. And then you can present your angle. Or you can say something like, what if we consider it from another perspective? This and this and that. It's like you are posing a question rather than stating your authority points. You are posing a question. So that way, it reduces their tendency to push back. They will want to consider what you're saying because they see it as respectful, right? Then you can now go ahead with your points. One thing I've noticed is that, or here is how I see it. This is what I think about it. You understand? And ensure that your tone is respectful. Ensure that your body language does not show superiority, and you don't raise your voice, you don't take it personal, you don't sound defensive, right? So that is very important. And also ensure that you avoid sarcasm, right? Or sarcasm, sorry. And avoid emotional spikes. Avoid raising your voice, shouting and saying, no, 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 I don't see it like that. I don't see it like that. That's that's not necessary. And it's something that you get better at, right? So it is something that you should learn. At the end of the day, they may still disagree with you, and respect that. They may still disagree with you. At the end of the day, the goal, remember, in disagreement is not to necessarily win, is to present your points. I went for a meeting one day, a management meeting at a workplace, and I was presenting my points, and I just went ahead to present my point. But I noticed that some management members were not speaking. And later on after the meeting, I was asking them, but you didn't say anything in the meeting, and they tell you that, and they told me that no matter what they say, these people have concluded on what they want to do. So why am I stressing myself? Right? So they believe that no matter what they say, these people have concluded. So why am I just stressing myself? Let me just go ahead and do and just keep quiet. And as brilliant or as wise as that is, I don't think that is a good position in a management meeting. And I told them, I said, I know that I also see the body language that it's possible that these people have concluded on what they want to do. But here is how I see it. Number one, I have presented my points. If it goes wrong eventually, somewhere in their mind, they will remember that, and this guy said it. But imagine something goes wrong and they got to know that I knew in advance and I didn't say anything. Won't he feel like, ah, so you know this thing and you never raised it? So I would rather raise my point and it was not followed than not raise it because I feel it will not be followed. And that's the way I see it. Again, the caveat is read the room, understand where you are, and choose your battle. Now, let me explain what I mean by choose your battle. Especially if, okay, let's say I'm in a meeting and I have disagreed the first time, the second time disagree, the third time disagree, then you begin to raise a question. What's going on? Is it that this guy, it doesn't paint you well. So there are some things that are not worth arguing about. Even though you don't agree with it, they are not critical points. Just let it go. You understand? So choose your warfare. Know things to disagree with, and some things you just let it slide because it is not a critical point. But for critical points, so it's like your credit. Save your credit for critical expenses. Use it in a very, very strategic way so that you are not seen as the guy that is always arguing and disagreeing. If it is not worth it, if it is not a sensitive thing, if it is not a highly consequential thing, sometimes it just allow you to slide, right? But don't be a yes man, especially when it is critical, just because you feel like no matter what I say, you're not going to listen to me. Allow people to make their conclusions, but express your points. So that is the point about that. So present your points. Don't impose your point on anybody, right? So just and stay composed, and whatever the outcome is, still agree with it, right? Or accept rather. So maybe agree may not be the point. You may not necessarily agree, but you accept, especially if it is a decision, if it's an organizational decision, right? I believe we should do this by Tuesday. And I gave my point, and my point was not accepted. And eventually it was concluded I should do it on Wednesday. I won't start showing attitude of, maybe I told you, you people did not agree with me. Or maybe on that Wednesday, I will now be, I won't be cooperative because I'm trying to prove to you that I don't agree with you on this thing. No, I still give my support I show all the enthusiasm I can show, especially when it's not a critical thing, right? And if anything goes wrong, I will still not necessarily show that attitude of I told you so. I will still try to help to salvage the situation in ways I can. Those are ways to handle disagreement upward. Now, the next one is how do you disagree with peers? So we've looked at how to disagree upward. Now let's look at how to disagree with peers. I think for many people this is easy. At least this is my colleague, or this is my friend. This is someone that we are relatively around the same level. And usually ego steps in here because you feel like, what do you know that I don't know? We're on the same level. We are probably the same mid-level manager or low-level manager or high-level manager. Or this is your friend, or this is someone that you believe that this person does not, you are not superior to me in any way. So ego will usually set in because you feel like, why should this person win me? What do they know that I don't know? And that is a very sensitive place to pay attention to. So don't compete to win. Just ensure that you state your point, right? Don't label the person, don't compete to win, and ensure that you stay on the issue. See, it is very easy to move from person, to move from issue and move to person. Very, very easy. Especially when the person don't agree with you. It is very easy to just move to you're always like that. Why do you always disagree? Just go personal. Sometimes people begin to do emotional blackmail just to tell you that you you don't always agree with me. So it is very easy. The same thing you did, disagreeing upward, everything also can come in here, right? So we should not be avoidant, we should not be confrontational. Try to understand the person's perspective. And at the end of the day, be comfortable not agreeing with people. I usually tell people around me, I said, I am comfortable knowing that you don't agree with me as long as you state your point and I state my point also. We can respect each other's opinion and we don't necessarily have to agree on everything. Now, it takes a healthy conversation to see life like that. Otherwise, some people feel that they must always win every conversation. So, if you feel that you must always win every conversation, then that is wrong. And don't always come from the, especially when you are dealing with your colleagues, with your peers, don't always come from a superior angle. I don't like when people use lines like, let me tell you what you don't know, or I need you to understand something. Stuff like that. It makes it look like, okay, boss man. And the person can tell you, I think someone once said something like, very soon you understand. And I'm wondering, come on, that's immature, right? So, and you're using that for your peers, for your colleague. Let me tell you something that you don't know. It's like you are assuming a coaching angle. You're coming from a mentor kind of angle. Let me tell you something you don't know. No, that's not right. That's not right. Here's how I look at it, or I don't see it that way, right? Of course, we may once in a while still do these things, right? Because you may be, especially when you're still trying to learn how to hold very vital and important conversations. You may find yourself still going personal sometimes, right? I've been there, like I said. And the main thing is that reflect on how the conversation went at the end of the day. Sometimes if it is a chat, I would read the conversation. I will see at what point did I go personal? At what point did I move from issue to the person? And I would try to pay attention to my emotional trigger. What triggered my emotion that made me become angry and personal, or I feel offended, or my ego was offended. So I would try to pay attention to it. What can I learn from this? How better should I have handled this conversation? And then I will try to improve on it the next time. So that's the way it is. So now, strong opinion, right? So make sure that your opinion are strong, but ensure that you don't force your opinion on anybody. That's important. Now, I've also seen cases where people avoid, they don't want their friends to be angry. They don't want the relationship to be affected. So they just keep quiet. I don't think it's a good place when your friend got to know later that you knew something and you did not raise it with them just because you don't want them to be offended. Again, there are constructive arguments, there are destructive arguments. The next part is, how do you disagree downward? Now, this is very easy, but you have to be very careful with it. So because you are coming from a leadership lens, right? You are disagreeing with someone that is lower than you with respect to any whatever way you define it, right? So how do you disagree with people that are probably younger than you are, or your subordinate in the office, and you don't start remember that we started by saying that in the African context, you have the elders thinking that they know everything and young people don't know anything. Unconsciously, when you get older too, you may start relating with younger people like that because that was how you were trained. That's why you need to undo it. It's like people that attend boarding school where the seniors bully the juniors. Most times when they become seniors too, they also bully the juniors, even though when they were juniors, they didn't like the fact that they were being bullied. But it's like they became senior and they felt like they did it to me, I must do it to others too. Or they felt like, okay, this is why these people, they just started justifying it. But it's not justified. It's not justified. So there's a way you also argue with people, or you disagree rather. I think that's a better word. You disagree with some people that are under you. So when 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 someone younger than you, whether in office, in age, or in whatever position, they disagree with you, sometimes we are quick to go defensive, like, who are you to talk to me like that? What do you know? No, that's not right. So don't 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 start telling them, you don't understand yet. Don't worry. Very soon you understand. Once you tell someone you don't understand it, very soon you're already assuming a superiority complex. You're assuming a superior angle, rather. So it's not a place to be. And you don't want to start saying things like, when you get older, you understand it. When I was like you too, I didn't know much better. Now I know much better. No, those are what's the word now? Those are forceful way to win an argument, or you just dismiss them like, what do you know? What do you know? You are still young. In Yoruba land, they will say something like, "Ọmọdé ló ń ṣe ẹ́." You are still young. You don't know what you're saying. I don't think that's a good way to really go about it. But if there's anything, in fact, I think this is something I did with a particular person. If I was in a meeting, and teenagers were, I think it's a school setting, and teenagers were told to express their opinion about something. And this particular young girl, maybe 16, 17, and she stood up and she started expressing her disapproval. And generally, most of our friends also don't agree with what the leadership was saying, but they just feel like, if you no matter what you say, they will not accept, right? But she raised her hand and she started putting forth her points. And I really don't think she did it in a very rude way. But of course, the fact that she disagreed got her into some soft trouble with people, right? And I called her after the meeting. I said, if there's anything, I love the fact that you are bold. I said, I celebrate that about you, right? When younger persons speak up, and especially when they do it humbly or maturely, appreciate the fact that they speak up, right? I'm glad you spoke up. I really appreciate the angle you're coming from, right? So let them know that it is healthy to disagree. It is how you go about it that is the wrong way. You can do the sandwich approach to feedback: positive, then constructive, or what to improve upon, then the positive. So you can say, I'm glad you spoke up. In fact, it shows that this and this and that. However, you can now show them their gaps, or let them know what they did that was quite disrespectful, right? And then you can correct them like that. You can correct them like that. So that is very, very important. So listen to them very, very carefully. Listen to them very, very carefully. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, go. All right, so okay. Yeah, I have one of my children coming here to to come and join the live session. Don't worry, very soon you start joining this kind of conversations, and you know it's important for us to also train our children, just like I was talking about, that you should train them how to disagree respectfully. So don't be quick to interrupt a young person just because they are young. You know, there's a scripture that says that don't let anyone look down on you because you are young. Of course, the King James Version says that let no man despise your youth. But I'm trying to quote another version that says that don't let anybody look down on you because you are young. There are times when someone older says something and people agree. Then someone younger says it and people disagree. In other words, the issue is not what you say. The issue is we saying it. So people interpret what you say from the lens of how old are you? Who are you that you are saying this? So it's not because what you say is wrong, it's because you are the one saying it. So they disagree because they don't agree with you. And that is not a good place to be, right? So don't be don't rush to interrupt them because you feel like, "No, what do you have to say? Just keep quiet." Or don't be quick to correct. Just like I said concerning your colleagues, maybe you're coming from this angle of let me tell you, let me tell you what you don't know, or let me tell you something that you need to understand. We don't need to, right? So truth is not age dependent. A younger person can say a truth, an older person can say a truth. So it is not a truth because they are younger or because they are older. And sometimes we feel like if an older person is saying something, automatically is right. If a younger person is saying something, automatically is wrong. No, truth is not age dependent. Truth is truth, irrespective of whether it is coming from an older person or a younger person. And you can also acknowledge their points and then let them see what they need to improve upon. Something like, I see your points, I see where you're coming from, but here is where I think it needs refining, or here is how I think we should look at it, right? That helps them because it makes them feel like people people older than me respect my opinion. And it also helps their self-confidence too. It helps their confidence when you let them know that I don't necessarily disagree with you because you are young. The reason why I don't agree with you is because the point is not correct, not because you are young. And of course, whenever they are right to validate, if you are always proving that they are wrong, they feel like maybe I don't even know anything. But when they are right, let them know. In fact, there are times when a younger person can say something and can say, "Oh, how come I never saw it from that angle? That was very brilliant. In fact, I think I need to go and read more on this thing because I've never seen it from that angle before." What does that do? It's strengthening their esteem because they feel like, "Oh, me, I said something that this person that I respect believes that what I said is right, and they even think that they need to go and read more about it." It strengthens their, and it helps them when they go out there in the public to defend their points, right? So now, as I begin to round off, practical ways to strengthen our ability to disagree without damaging relationships, whether relationship downward, relationship with your peers, or relationship upward. So, what are the things we can do? Number one, before you speak, always examine your points. Don't be quick to just say something before you think. No, think before you talk, not talk before you think. So, and question your motive also. Why do I want to disagree? Is it because I want to express my opinion or because I want to win an argument? If your motive is to win an argument, then I think you're wrong. But if the motive is to really express yourself, then that's a right way to put it. So question your motive and think very well and put your points together before you speak. And while you're speaking, number one, maintain a calm tone. Make sure you're calm. Whenever you start raising your voice, it's a sign that you are not being professional or mature, right? So uh, just avoid raising your voice, right? When you are disagreeing, avoid raising your voice by all means. Number two, speak from your perspective. Here is what I see it. And your perspective does not necessarily mean that's the authority. It's just my perspective. And someone is free to disagree with my perspective, right? And I'm also free to disagree with their perspective, as long as I don't try to force my perspective on them or they don't try to force their perspective on me. So speak from your perspective and avoid absolute statements. I think this is when we go personal. When you say things like, you always, that's how you used to do. You never do this. You, in fact, you never agree with me. Why is it that every time I talk, when you are going personal, when you are talking like that, you are going personal. So avoid absolute statements like you always do this, you never do this. No, just try to stay calm. What if you are triggered? Like I said earlier, that I would read through the conversation if it is something that is is maybe like a WhatsApp chat or something. I will just read through it, or maybe like an email, or maybe whatever other chats. Or if it is a recorded conversation, I will listen to it and try to find out at what point was I emotionally triggered? What triggered my emotion? Right? Usually our emotion is triggered when we feel insulted, when our ego feel insulted, or when you feel like, who is this person to talk to me like this? Or when you feel like people don't agree with you, or when you feel like this has gone personal, this has gone beyond issue, it has gone personal, your emotion is triggered. So when your emotion is triggered, pause before responding. If you respond immediately, most likely you will get it wrong. But if you pause before responding, there's a high chance that you can calm yourself down emotionally before you respond. And don't try to match emotional energy. Sometimes we want to do energy for energy. It is not necessary. The person can be raising their voice and be shouting and be doing all sorts of things. You don't have to do that. You don't have to match energy for energy. Imagine someone is shouting and the person is raking and you are just calm. That's the place you want to be. You don't want to start matching energy for energy. What if someone disagrees with you? How do you handle disagreement? Number one, don't take it personally. Don't take it that the person disagrees with me because they don't like me. No. Or because they think they know more than me, or because they feel that I don't know anything, or you're trying to make me look like I'm naive or I'm novice or I'm stupid. No. The fact that I disagree with you doesn't mean that I'm saying you are stupid, right? So don't take disagreement personally. And number two is that you should separate your idea from your identity. I've disagreed with people and we still went on to do fantastic things together because I don't have issues with them as a person. I have issue with a point or an idea that they presented. In fact, I've been in conversations where you say point A and I disagree with you and I stated my reason. And the next time you spoke, I said, wow, that was brilliant. That was fantastic. What was I trying to show? To let the person know that I don't have issues with you as a person. As a matter of fact, I believe you're smart and intelligent, but that particular point, I don't agree with it. Right? So when they say something that you agree with, also verbalize it. Let them know that, wow, that's brilliant. In fact, I think that is the point that we should focus on. In fact, I agree with what Mr. ABC said. And I think that's what we should try to execute. And the reason why I even look at it like that is because of this and that. And this is a person that earlier you disagree with. Then it becomes obvious that I don't have issues with you as a person. I only disagreed with what you said. But if point one, I disagree with you, point two, I disagree with you, your point three, I disagree with you. But when others were talking, I did not disagree with them. Then it's obvious that I have issues with you. So we should avoid tackling someone. I've seen people that find themselves in executive positions maybe school fellowship, and they have to deal with things like this. So that's why these conversations is very, very important, right? So avoid going personal. Avoid going personal when people disagree with you, and you should not raise your voice just because. And if you feel the pressure to respond, most likely you should not respond, right? Now, these are phrases that you can use in conversations that can help you to to disagree without damaging relationships. Number one, help me to understand your thinking. Sometimes we may ask for clarity. You may disagree because you don't understand them yet. So you may ask questions. Can you explain what you mean? Because I don't seem to get what you're saying. Can you explain? Can you clarify the points you made, that this and this and that? The person may clarify. You find out that, oh, okay, okay, I don't know. That's what you're trying to say. But because you are quick to disagree, you didn't even allow them to explain themselves. So sometimes, can you clarify the points you made on this? Because I'm not saying it from that angle. Can you clarify the points? And the person clarifying the points may make you say that, oh, okay, I don't know that that's what you're trying to say. I understand. Okay, I agree with you. Right? So you may say things like, I see it differently because, that's another phrase you can use. I see it differently because, and then you can explain yourself. I see it differently because this and this and this and that. That's a point you can use. And you can say something like, that's a fair point, but here are my concern. That's a fair point, but here are my concern. My concern is that we may not have enough resources to execute this strategy. Or what if the response rate is low and you are telling them that I don't think we should do it like that because of this and that? What if your concerns were eventually handled and you say, oh, if we can handle those things, then that's a fantastic point. We can go ahead and execute it, right? So, and you should learn to argue. You should learn to, I'm trying to avoid using the word argue, because the word argue may not go well with some people, right? But argument is not altogether bad. But you should learn to disagree with people above you, right? People at your level and people below you. People above you, because you need to state your point without necessarily disrespecting them. It's something you need to learn how to do. People at your level, because ego may get in the way and you may focus on winning rather than, or trying to prove a point rather than expressing your point. So you can express your point, you can clarify your position without necessarily forcing your position on them. And because you are colleagues, there's a tendency for each party to want to see it as, what do you know that I don't know? Because you're on the same level, or who are you to talk to me like that? So those things must be avoided. And also, when it comes to relating with people that are younger than you are, there's a tendency for you to assume a leadership position and you begin to say things like, let me tell you what you need to know, and let me tell you what you need to understand. So that is also not a good place to be, right? So maturity is not in avoiding disagreement. It's not necessarily mature, right? Maturity is in handling disagreement with wisdom. So you should not altogether avoid disagreements, but learn to handle disagreements with wisdom and professionally. Like I said earlier, there are times when it is not necessary, because we can't become so petty that every small thing you are disagreeing, every small thing. When you see people that are very petty, they are looking for disagreement and argument where nothing exists. There are times when somebody says something around me and I don't agree with them, but I don't see it as a major thing to really want to start arguing back and forth on. I just let it slide. But if it is a sensitive thing, a consequential thing, a major thing, then I may raise it. So it's not every time you rush to disagree, especially when it comes to people above you. There are times when you don't agree with them, but it's not worth it. just let it slide because this is not necessary. So that's not a place you want to be when you are seen as disrespectful, arrogant, or argumentative. So it's a credit that you should use with wisdom. You should use it once in a while when it is necessary, especially when it has to do with people above you. Use that credit, use it carefully, use it once in a while when it is necessary. And if you must do it maturely and professionally, just like what we've learned earlier. All right, so is there any question so far? This is 1 hour already. I want us to stop the conversation very soon. So do you have anything that you want to see? Let me see if anyone drops a comment so that I can pick it up and raise it. So do you have any question, anything that you don't agree with? Remember, we're learning about disagreement. So you may also disagree with one of the things I said, and you are free to bring it up. So is there anything that you don't agree with and you can bring it up? All right. Anything. Is there anything that you don't agree with? Or if there's any place you need clarity, if there's any area where you need clarity, let me know. Let me know. Just a few seconds, please. All right. So, any question? Anything? Any question? Any question? Any question? Any question? All right. In the absence of no question, I will upload this on the on the on the YouTube platform, and feel free to put your comment, feel free to listen again. And this conversation is something we will hold every month, right? We had one last month, and this is the April edition. And May edition will also come up first Saturday of the month by 6 p.m. First Saturday of the month by 6 p.m. And we have a community, actually. It is called the Telose community. And you are welcome to join our community. We have weekly meetings too. Every Tuesday we have weekly meetings by 8 p.m. and you are free to join the conversation. And you can also invite your friends. If you would like to join the community, you can you can just type in the comment section that how can I join the community? Or you can reach out to me. My phone number is 08031506109. 08031506109. I will drop it in the comment section also, so that if you would like to be a part of the community, you can message me and I can add you to the WhatsApp community so that you are part of this conversation. So beyond our monthly meeting, we also hold weekly meetings, right? For example, last month, our weekly meeting, we looked at challenging limiting core beliefs, and they are fantastic. They are fantastic points, right? And they are all uploaded on our Telegram platform, and you can also check it out. So when you message me, I'll put you through on how to be a part of the community. Thank you very much, and see you next month. Ensure you join next month, and ensure you also invite your friends. And also, if you would like to be a part of the community, we will see in the community, and we'll continue our conversations there. Thank you very much. Remember, avoiding arguments doesn't necessarily mean that you're mature, doesn't necessarily mean that you are right. Sometimes you are only avoiding it because you don't know how to go about it. So now we've learned how to go about disagreements without necessarily damaging relationships, because the reason why we are avoidant is because we don't want to damage relationships. But you can disagree and you will still have good relationship. In fact, I have been in cases where me disagreeing with people actually strengthen my relationship, because I feel like this guy, I love the way he thinks. I like the fact that he's confident. I would like to have him in my team, and have joined teams when it's because they saw the way I brought up my points and I presented my points, and I didn't necessarily disrespect in any way, especially people ahead of me. I've been added to conversations that is because of the way I used to disagree respectfully, rather than just keeping quiet and think that what do I know? No. So it has opened doors for me. I'm telling you, it has opened doors for me how to disagree without damaging relationships. As a matter of fact, it has strengthened relationships for me, and it has opened doors for me, because there are some people that they actually need that kind of person around them, someone that can disagree, someone that can express their points, not a yes man. Some people will tell you that they don't need hallelujah boys around them. Hallelujah boys, by that I mean people that always only hail them and just applaud their points and even agree with them, even when the point is wrong. They need people that can disagree with them. Of course, do it professionally and maturely. And you may find yourself around people like that. In fact, it will attract you to great people, because great people love people that can think independently. They love smart and intelligent people. So don't kill your voice in the name of what do I know? No, you know something. Even if you are wrong at the end of the day, they will let you know how you are wrong. But the fact that you speak up is something that they would appreciate. That I love the fact that you're able to express yourself confidently. I would love to have you in my team. Don't you think that's something you want to have? Thank you very much, and see you next month. Bye.